Coach Simon from Motor City Hoops joins us this morning. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm good, guys, man. How are you guys doing this morning? I'm really happy to join you, and I'm excited to talk Pistons.
We're extremely excited to have you. The feeling is mutual. I'll let Jeff start. Jeff, go ahead.
Well, first, I want to just make sure everyone knows we're talking to our guy, Coach Bryce Simon, host of the Motor City Hoops podcast. I appreciate you being here, number one. And number two, I want to ask you, start off with, we'll go Dwayne Casey, because I know we're going to get into the Cade Cunningham discussions. And now that we have you on, finally, I want to ask your personal evaluation of Dwayne Casey, maybe the last couple years, and kind of your take on Dwayne since we finally got you on here.
Yeah, so, I don't want to say I'm a Dwayne Casey defender, but I feel like I've kind of gotten that rep. And the reason is, the roster's not very talented, and I think we're quick to judge things. There's been some decisions. So, the Hamidou Diallo thing, right? He gets set earlier in the season, I think rightfully so, and then he bounces back after setting 5 games and looks really good, and people are like, well, why was he setting early in the year? He wasn't playing well. It was the right decision to play. And listen, guys, I'm a huge Hamidou Diallo fan. I wanted to pay him this offseason. You guys would be firing me as GM if I would have offered him a contract. So, I just think I try to see both sides of things. I'm not saying everything he does is correct. I'm not saying I agree with everything. But as a coach, I guess maybe I'm a little bit biased. And so I do try to see things from his side of it.
Respect that. All right, you want to get your Cade Cunningham question?
I do have a question for you, Coach, about Cade. Look, there's this mantra, Detroit versus everybody.
Yes, there is.
All right? And look, he dropped 38 last night. Believe me, I was all about it. Amazing performance. Loved it. They were doubling and triple teaming him. The only reason the Pistons really had a chance in that game. But I'm not even upset that national media doesn't even give this guy attention. 1, he plays in Detroit. They're 11-36. 2, LaMelo Ball got the attention he got last year because, I don't know, he's LaMelo Ball, and I've known him since he was 13, unfortunately. I don't mind Cade going under the radar. Yes, that has always been the moxie and the talk of this town is underrated star players in Detroit. What do you make of this narrative that Cade, 1, isn't getting enough attention nationally, and 2, just this Detroit versus everybody mantra?
Yeah, I mean, it's right. He's not getting enough attention nationally, but let him sleep. I don't care. I wrote an article for Detroit Bad Boys that just dropped yesterday, and in it I said, I don't care if Cade Cunningham wins Rookie of the Year. He's the best rookie. He's a Detroit Piston. He's our face of the franchise, and that's all that matters, and that's all we should be excited about. I don't care if he wins Rookie of the Year. I just don't get lost in that stuff. We got the best player in the draft. The Pistons got the best player in the draft. He has the most intangibles of anybody in the draft. He's a leader of men as a 19-year-old. He's mature beyond his years already. He has embraced the city. And guess what, guys? He can freaking ball. So at the end of the day, I don't care what the rest of the country or whatever, if they want to talk about him, let him sleep. Let him sleep. And whenever the Pistons are winning playoff games, we'll tell him to stay off the bandwagon.
And I want to stay on Cade Cunningham because now I'm going to get a little personal with you. Now I'm going to address your personal evaluation of Cade, and I want you to answer what separates him, because we talk about franchise player. That's obviously Cade. What separates guys like Cade Cunningham from maybe, I don't know, specifically Jalen Green? What's the difference between those two selections?
Absolutely. So Jalen Green is, I don't want to say he's all show. It's style, right?
Yeah.
My college coach had a great quote. He would tell guys in a negative way, you're all style over substance. You're all about how you look. And I'm not saying Jalen Green does that on purpose. All I'm saying is you get lost in the athleticism, in the tough shots he makes, those type of things. Go look at his stats. How many rebounds does he get? How many assists does he get? What's he doing on the defensive end? I went to Summer League. I never heard him say a word on the defensive end. And I know these aren't sexy things for fans, but Cade Cunningham is always talking on the defensive end. I saw it in Game 1 of Summer League for him and the Pistons. So it's all those things on the court, and then it's off the court. You see him talking to Killian Hayes. You see him being a leader. You see him saying the right things in the media. He showed the most frustration after that game on Tuesday night whenever asked about getting to the free throw line and not getting respect from the officials. That was the first time he kind of didn't give the politically correct answer. So it's the entire package from Cade Cunningham.
Absolutely.
Great,
Look, I do want to shift to 2 things real quick. First, Diallo, I totally agree with you, by the way. I think he's a future piece. What his ceiling is, to be honest, I still don't know yet. He has flashes where you're like, oh my goodness, this guy's unplayable. And then there's nights where it's like, no, I should not play him. So extremely frustrating, but he is young, so I'm not even really too upset with it. But the player I do want to focus on more so is Killian Hayes. He's been putting together some really good games lately. I'm of the mindset, you know what? Yes, he was the number 7 pick. But the dude can lock down players, and maybe not yet, but I think his ceiling is he's a lockdown perimeter defender. That has value on a championship team, and that may be 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now. Where are you with Killian Hayes?
Yeah, I'm one of those guys. I probably get pegged as a Killian defender, and it's not that I'm like trying to just outwardly protect him as much as just seeing the things he does bring to the table, and you outlined them perfectly. I think what we need Killian to be, what the Pistons need Killian to be, his archetype of player. And I'm not saying he's great in it yet. He's not. But I think that fits perfect next to Cade. I think we saw in the Kings game when Killian set out and Cade had to try to guard De'Aaron Fox, he ended up in foul trouble. You need Killian Hayes or a player like that to defend the other team's best perimeter player. And then where Killian has to get really good is in catch and shoot situations. He's gotten better. He has to continue to get better. What I'd like to see more from him, guys, and this is where I would critique Coach Casey, let Killian run the second unit when you stagger minutes. He can start, but then stagger his minutes, let him run the second unit and do some of that pick and roll stuff that he was supposed to be good at. That was his rep coming into the draft.
And I want to ask you, obviously the Pistons 11-36, not ideal, but specifically Isaiah Stewart. And we love beef stew, of course, but we always have this discussion. Obviously, he's 6'8", 6'9". He's playing center out there. He's playing his ass off. But more specifically, what is Isaiah Stewart's ceiling to you? Do you see him as a starting big or someone who comes off the bench like a Montrezl Harrell in the future? What is his ceiling to you?
Yeah, man, I hope this one doesn't stop me from getting invited back, but because I'm a huge Beef Stew fan also, but I think he's the first big off the bench. Like unless you see him bring something offensively, whether it's as, stretching the floor as a pick and pop, as a short roll guy, I don't think the lob is going to be there. Like he just doesn't have that pop and explosiveness. I don't know NBA trainers. Obviously, they know way more than anything I've ever been around. Maybe they can increase that with him, but his hands don't look great. He's a hard worker. He rebounds. I love his switchability on the defensive end. That's a huge value. But I do think when this team is good, really competing, he's probably your first big guy off the bench.
Yeah, actually, I completely agree with you. Listen, I love beef stew, and Pistons fans don't like to hear it when you say things like that, but it's the truth. And it's nothing wrong with that. You can still be a great player coming off the bench providing energy for us. No doubt about that. You got a question? Because I'll follow it up with something.
No, follow it up. I'm loving this.
Now that we're sticking on, we're going to talk about the Pistons the whole season. We went through individual players. You got Dwayne Casey. I mentioned it before, 11-36. You've been watching damn near every game of the Pistons this year. You've done a ton of recaps. They can check it out. Motor City Hoops podcast. It's great. And I want you to kind of run down the season. What are some things you've seen of the team, maybe the first 15 now, lately, and what have they gotten better at? What are some things they need to do in the offseason to you personally?
Yeah, so obviously the season started, like they were a historically bad offensive team, and Cade wasn't playing to start the season, but they just weren't making shots, like literally historically bad from three-point. And I looked right before I came on, and the shooting, it's still one of the worst in the league this season, but it's not like historically bad. Like eventually it was going to come around. The other thing is Jerami Grant hasn't played very many games. He's your highest paid player. Kelly Olynyk hasn't played very many games. He's your second highest paid player. And Blake Griffin plays for the Nets, and he's actually your highest paid player. You paid him to go away. So you don't have a whole lot of money invested in these guys that are actually playing. The shooting and the offense has gotten better, but while at the same time, the defense has gotten worse, which has been a little bit frustrating for me as like a defensive-minded coach in what I do. Looking forward, I think they need a rim-running, rim-protecting five-man, and I think they need a big-time scoring wing, like a guy that can really get buckets. Because, yes, Cade can go get 34, but I don't think that's his nature, guys. I think he would rather kind of be the number 2 option scoring-wise, get everybody else involved, and then take over in the last 5 minutes.
We can't let you get out of here without addressing this Jerami Grant news, all this stuff getting talked about with Jerami Grant. And now you saw the reports about him not wanting to go to the Lakers and all this stuff, but he's still on the trade block. So I want to get your opinion on maybe, I know you heard the John Collins stuff. It's all over the place. So maybe What's your ideal Jerami Grant trade scenario? Is it for a very good player and a pick, draft capital strictly? Like, what would be a good deal for Troy Weaver to get done with Jerami Grant?
Absolutely. So I think the deal that makes the most sense, and I don't want to say I'm Pistons specific, but I watch every second of every Pistons game. And that doesn't leave a lot of time to watch the rest of the NBA. So I don't know how good some of these guys are. I'm a little more of a box score watcher, but like Patrick Williams of the Bulls is kind of the ideal kind of realm of what I would like to see in return. Somebody younger, but is still going to be a starter for this team. This team has plenty of guys that can come off the bench in the second unit. You know, we talked about Isaiah Stewart, could be Killian Hayes. I think that's where Hamidou Diallo's best fit is. So I would like to get them a younger guy, but who definitely has the potential to be a starter in this league moving forward. I'm not as much on the draft capital thing, but I think that's because for me, picking Cade Cunningham has sped up the process for the restoration, and it needs to happen a little quicker.
I will say, look, I've been on the trade Jerami Grant even before the season started train, and I got a lot of pushback early on. I don't mind that people are on it now. I have no issue with it, but my problem with Jerami Grant is this dude actually comes out and the reports are, yeah, he doesn't want to play second or third fiddle to LeBron. Like, this guy's ego is insane. And you could tell early on when he was playing with Cade on the court, he was jealous of Cade. I mean, I tweeted it out, and it's just my personal observation. The dude is jealous. He doesn't want to be the number 2. And honestly, Coach, I think he's a number 3 on a good team. What the hell is this market? Can't we just get rid of him already? I'm tired. I'm tired of this guy.
I agree with you. I do think he came to Detroit to be the guy in the face, and that completely changed when they drafted Cade Cunningham. If they had drafted Jalen Green, I think this may be different, because even though Jalen Green may be taking more shots, he's not the face of the Pistons, just like he's not the face of I don't think he's the face of the Rockets. I could be wrong there. But it's going to be interesting. I think it makes it a little bit problematic, guys, where Jerami Grant goes, because there's 2 factors. The one you just brought up about what option he's willing to be on a team, and also he's going to want to get, in my opinion, that 4-year, $118 million extension that's coming up. And are you willing to pay Jerami Grant that to be your number 3 or maybe even your number 4?
I'd rather die.
The options may be more limited than what they initially looked like.
Yeah, look, honestly, I'm not surprised by it. I believe he has, 2 years left on his deal?
Yes. It's a great deal right now.
It's a good deal now. It's going to be a horrible deal whoever the hell decides to take him. And the Pistons should not even consider signing him or keeping him. He's not that guy.
No.
He's not that guy.
Especially with the emergence of Bay.
I'd rather have Darko than Jerami Grant at this point.
Don't
Jesus
go that far.
Christ.
Don't go that far.
Okay, maybe I'm a bit dramatic, but you guys get my point this morning. Well, listen, Coach, honestly, can't thank you enough for joining us this morning. That was so fun. Would love to have you on again anytime soon, especially throughout the Pistons season. You just shoot Jeff or myself a message, and you're on, man.
No doubt.
We really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.